So the way this review is going to work is the first half will be a review which doesn't contain spoilers. Then there'll be like a little 10-second intermission followed by a review that contains spoilers. When I'm editing this video, at any point, if I feel like I have said something that might spoil it, I will edit it. Yes, that's right. This will be the first video where you see any edits, should I feel like I said anything that may have spoiled it. Because of course, when I start talking about reviews, sometimes I may get into something that might have spoiled something. So I'll be on the look on that through editing. So you don't have to really worry. I'm not really gonna give you any big spoilers. Now with all that said, Crawl, movie based in, well, Gainesville, Florida to start off with, and then she goes and has to look for her father. Now, of course, a hurricane is in the process, and this being Florida, there are gators everywhere. In every lake, there are freaking gators. Now, the movie itself isn't anything amazing or brilliant, but it does feel like some of those old 80s horror movies where you don't have to think at all, and it's just meant to be 90 minutes of pure entertainment. Yes, that's right, 90 minutes. And that's being nice because it's only an hour and 28-minute runtime. Yes, very short like the old 80s horror movies. So right from the beginning, there's a little bit of action and it builds up along the way to a very suspenseful ending. So there isn't really a whole lot of slow moments. And I know a lot of horror movies like to start off slow and build up. There's actually no room for the slow part in the beginning. The trailer was kind of misleading. The trailer almost made us feel like there was a hurricane, there was a flood which brought these gators out, and it flooded the crawl space of this house in Florida. Because you got to remember, there are no basements in Florida. This is actually a crawl space. And that's not what happened at all. Okay, this isn't much of a spoiler, but the gators are technically already out. The lake didn't flood to bring them out in a sense. So it is a little bit different from the trailer. And the gators aren't the only thing she has to worry about. They have to worry about the gators, spiders, the house, the hurricane. I mean, there's this, I say the house because it's almost like this house is a fucking entity all in itself. When you see the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about. Or if you want to wait till the end because you don't really care if this movie gets spoiled or not, then we'll talk a little bit about that. But, I mean, there's so much shit going on in this movie. And there's not much of a story. There's not much of character development outside of what she does, which she is a professional swimmer in a sense. She doesn't get paid, but she is on the swim team for UF, which is in Gainesville, which is where the movie starts off. Then she has to go to her dad, which I'm assuming isn't far from Gainesville. We don't really ever know for sure, but it's not too far. And I mean, a lot of it is pretty close to accuracy of what happens. I live in Central Florida. I've lived here for over 20 years. So there is a lot of realism here. The gore was very well done. The special effects makeup, yeah, I say makeup, was well done. It wasn't a bunch of CGI blood for the most part. The gators and the sky and the trees, those were a little CGI. And the same talking about a little bit poor CGI for most of the time. It was almost like, God, I wish this was the 80s and the gators were animatronics in some spots and then there were CGI in other spots. I feel like you got to learn when to utilize animatronics, but I feel like this was also a very low budget film. Again, this was produced by Sam Raimi, not written or directed by Sam Raimi. And I feel like the budget wasn't huge. It's not like it was Jurassic Park or Jurassic World where they had the budget to build these animatronics. So we have to keep that in mind. And CGI is just cheaper. So I let that go. And again, I'm not trying to take this too seriously. This wasn't a serious movie. This was just a fun time for an hour and 28 minutes. That's all it was, with a few laughs here and there. The song they chose for the credit scene at the very end was very comical. It was very funny. Okay. But there isn't much dialogue. It was almost like a silent film. It wasn't silent, but it was almost like a silent film. And I want to distinguish that because people are like, well, they had some lines. Some lines, keep that in mind. There's maybe like 30 lines in the whole movie. Maybe a little more. That's not literal, that's figurative. So you have to keep that in mind as well. So the gore was good. The story moved along. I feel like most of the time, I'm the kind of person that's like, God, you know, I don't care if a movie's 4 hours as long as it means something. Godfather, I fucking love it. Godfather 2, I love it. They're like 3 hours long. Everything is perfect in those movies. But there's movies today that go on for like 2.5 hours even, and it's like, damn, they could have removed like 20 minutes or 15 minutes or 30 minutes, and it would have made no difference whatsoever, right? This is the first movie I've seen where I was like, damn, they should have added 5 minutes in. And when I get into the second half of this, I'll explain exactly what I think they should have done for the ending. And I almost feel like there is an alternate ending to this because it ended a little odd in a weird spot. And what we'll talk about in the spoiler half of this video. So again, if you're looking for just a movie you don't have to think about, there's not like a whole bunch of crap you got to try to figure out. It's just you're sitting there for an hour and 28 minutes. And it's a fun time. That's all it is. It's all it's meant to be. It's meant to be entertainment. Nothing more. Again, this isn't M. Night Shyamalan. This isn't J.J. Abrams. This, you know, we're not into Quentin Tarantino territory. We got to figure shit out along the way, right? So if you're just looking for a good, again, hour and 28 minute fun time, then you'll like this. Rotten Tomato, I think it was 88% critics, 74%, 77% fans. So they give it a really high score. It wasn't that high. I wouldn't put it up there. Personally, I would watch it one time. I would not buy it. I would not seek it out to purchase it for $20, $30. It's not that good. Okay, again, it's entertaining. I would put it, if I was going to do percentage, I would probably maybe say 65% or 6.5 out of 10 or a 6. I think maybe 6.5 might even overreach it. I'm only overreaching it because it's a little bit fun to watch it because I live in Florida. I used to dealing with the hurricanes and alligators and shit like that. So I give it a little bit boost. But if I remove that, I'd probably say 5.8 to a 6 maybe. And that's just because it's a fun time. And we're not used to getting those types of movies anymore. There's always in these artistic fucking movies everywhere. So with that said, again, if you think that that's a high enough score that makes you want to go see it, then go see it. If you're looking for an hour and 28 minutes where you don't have to think and you just want to have a fun time, and it kind of does feel like a Netflix movie, which that's not saying it's horrible. That's just saying that's kind of what it feels like budget-wise. I mean, that's where I want to leave it. That's where I'm going to leave it. The gore was good. Special effects were good. There was, I mean, there's going to be people that see some stuff and be like, oh, come on, that's not real. But some of that stuff actually could be realistic, and some of that stuff, yeah, some of the stuff that happens in this movie, you got to understand there has to be entertainment purposes, or it would end in 30 minutes and get boring. It's one of those type of movies. That's the best way I can explain it without spoilers, right? There were some moments where it felt like Jaws, but some moments, but a lot of the other moments, it was just, again, hour and 28 minutes of a fun time where you don't have to think, and that's it. That's all it is. You get out, you leave, you don't want to buy it. Okay, now, go on, get yourself some popcorn, candy, watch the little dancing soda, because we're going to go on to some intermission.
This little boy, this little girl, their mother and father too. They all have an urge, and oh, what an urge, for something to munch and chew. Choo-choo. Now these are just swell, and this rings the bell. The popcorn is crispy and hot. Then others again have a terrible yen for a drink, then hits the spot. Go, go. So if you want candy, the lobby is handy. A counter with sweets and a crew. With your kind permission, we'll have intermission. We're ready to serve all of you.
Welcome back from intermission. Now we're going to get into the second half of the review where we discuss some spoilers and some more in-depthness on the review. It's hard to go no spoilers in a review, and you can only really talk about so much, you know, and it doesn't really seem that entertaining. But now we're going to get into all the nitty-gritty shit where I nitpick things and I say what they should have done better and how I think the ending should have been done and would have been a lot better had they just added 2 simple minutes, and I'll tell you what that is at the end of this. All right, so yeah, we kick off in Gainesville, which is UF, University of Florida. They have a strong swim team, and of course she doesn't do so well, and then she goes and hunts the father down. This is kind of it's very logical. I would go hunt my father down or any of my family members down if they don't answer. So okay, that's a little bit realistic. You have to obviously cut through the cops. She had a little bit of leeway because she knew the cops. Realistically, they probably would have instantly sent somebody after you, but realistically at the same time, not always, because we had 3 hurricanes that came through here back to back. I think 2004. And I had my Jeep Wrangler, and I wanted to surf at the beach. They were evacuating it. They had cops shutting it down. The roadway, which hard to explain, is maybe a couple feet from the top of the ocean. Those are the roads, right? I just hauled ass. The cop did kind of follow me, but by the time he caught up to me, I was already out in the ocean. And we're talking about double sets, 6 foot high on shore. This cop looked at me and saw that, well, this guy kind of is crazy and he kind of knows what he's doing. He's on his own, and left me there, right? So they could work out. You know, I could argue that personal experience, you could get away from getting away from the cop and going and do it. Okay. Then we get into the house. This house, which is so damn funny because the house says it's in escrow, which means somebody's about to buy it. Well, they sure as hell aren't buying it after this. But there are some stupid moments, and we're talking about clearly this father is intelligent enough to rig up some devices to pop bones and shit back in place. Smart guy. She kind of had the similar genetics. She was pretty intelligent, right? Very strong swimmer. We have to keep that aspect in mind. She's a strong swimmer. And that's probably the only reason why they showed the beginning that she swam for UF. For those of you that don't know, again, UF is a very strong swim team. Very strong. They used to be number 1. I don't know if they are anymore. I'd have to look it up. I don't follow them too much. But they have to be still in the top 5, I'm sure, without a doubt. That just tells you how strong of a swimmer she is. Okay, moving along. Oh, here we go. So the spiders were funny. That's a very big thing. We have spiders everywhere. I mean, I kill spiders all the time in this fucking house. I literally can push my lawnmower into the garage and within 5 minutes, literally today, 5 minutes, I push that lawnmower and I come back out. There's one strand of spider web going from my cart where I wheel my tools from to the lawnmower. Already a spider starting to web. Tons of spiders everywhere, right? I had a scorpion in here once. And so that was funny as hell. Very realistic for Florida. Okay, spiders. But then we get into some shit. Okay, this guy, let's talk about these wounds that they have for hours on end. And we're talking about, in the beginning, it's flooded water, that's fine. But now we're talking about swamp water filling these holes. Infection out the ass, pain out the ass, burning out the ass. Of course, I understand at this point they're not feeling much because the pain is being numbed by adrenaline and a whole bunch of other shit that'll be wearing off later on. But you got to understand how bad the infection is they're going to have to be fighting out of the ship. That wasn't bad enough. You got to understand this old house probably has mold and shit that's getting into these cuts. That's got to be very painful later on. But we got some issues here. Okay, so starting off, let's jump into the parts where they're finally getting out of the house. This guy's clearly prepared. He knows what to do. Okay, and in Florida, anybody who lives in Florida knows this. I even called up 6 random people after the movie and asked them, right? What do you do in a flood? If your whole first story of your house is flooded, what do? You know, in Florida, there are rescue copters that go around. They go, well, you go to the roof. Second person, well, you would go to the roof, obviously. You go to the highest point, says the third person. They all know you go to the roof. What do these fucking idiots do? Of course, again, this is a movie. We have to keep in mind entertainment purposes. If they just went to the roof, shot off a flare, well, okay, they would see them. That would be the end of the movie. It'd be like 40 minutes long. As if the movie wasn't short enough already at 1 hour and 28 minutes. So they go outside and they're going through shark infested. I want to say shark infested because a lot of these scenes remind me of Jaws. And there were some Jaws elements such as, you know, we had the under the water coming around. This shit's moving over here when they had the swing. It kind of reminded me of the walkway out into the dock, basically. The dock scene from Jaws where it gets ripped off. That's kind of what that reminded me of in a sense. They're getting bitten up. Now we got tons of these alligators everywhere. And of course, we had the 80s feel where the people trying to, this drove me crazy, where the girl and the guy, these superheroes picking up the ATM machine. You know how much those damn things weigh? There's not a chance in how they're picking up that machine. And in Florida especially, I've never seen an ATM that isn't now weighted on the bottom and even bolted. So good luck with that. Then they put it into the fishing boat. That fishing boat would have sank or flipped over. Not a chance. Especially when she's just like, ugh, like she's picking up a mattress to a bed. Yeah, right. That's not happening, but it's entertaining. And again, we go back into the 80s aspect where the bad guys, technically not all of them are bad guys because the guy was looking to see if they could help her, end up getting attacked by the Gators. So it's that whole, oh, you did something wrong, we now attack you. There we go. Oh, this mess with the apex. I'm an apex predator. I understand it gives her the motivation. So this plays into what I feel like is the ending. So again, this is the whole entertaining hour and 28 minutes, as I keep emphasizing, because it is entertainment for an hour and 28 minutes. It's not supposed to be phenomenal, right? And we had this over-the-top sounds from the gators. Like the hissing is realistic. I've heard them hiss. I literally used to have one sunbathe that's about 7 foot near the mailbox. And he'd always hiss at me all the time, right? But then we kicked it off in the beginning with them going, like they're fucking dinosaurs from Jurassic Park. I've never heard a dinosaur. They are technically dinosaurs. Never heard an alligator crocodile go, I've never heard them fucking do that. And I've seen probably 50 or 60 of them in person outside of an alligator farm like Gatorland, Gator World. Yes, we have these places in Florida where you go and there's hundreds of gators. There's some that are like 800 pounds. Not once have they ever gone, whoa, like they're fucking velociraptors or T-Rexes, right? So I had a little issue with that. But the biggest issue, again, comes with not going to the roof. Why not just go to the roof? Of course, I understand it's entertainment. It's going to end. And then she's the badass swimmer. And then, of course, we get to the death roll, which if you don't know what death roll is, that's when the gator grabs you and they just keep spinning underwater. This wears out the prey and kills them. If they are a bird or a tiger or some shit, they're out in the woods, this will actually drown their food, their prey, right? Now, what she was doing is the proper way. Now, in Florida, I don't know about the rest of the country, obviously, but in Florida, I was taught this in 6th grade. If a gator ever grabs you and does a death roll, do not panic, do not freak out, right? You have to relax, because if you relax, your whole body will twist, and you're calm, your body will move freely, your muscles won't tighten up, right? And what happens if you freak out and you're trying to fight? Well, you try to fight, the gator rolls this way, you roll this way, your arm snaps, it can rip out of its socket. It can then rip the whole arm off. I've seen this before. I can't show this on YouTube. I could have shown you some videos. I've actually seen somebody in my neighborhood when I was younger come out of the water because it actually did happen. This is a common thing in Florida. Again, this is regardless of how amazing and modern, which like Orlando actually is a big city. These are city areas now, but they're built on top of swamps. There's still a lot of swampland. Gators have to go somewhere, right? Even in South Florida, there is a stream which was the breeding ground in the entire world for megalodons. I mean, this is just to give you an idea of Florida. We are not hillbillies, hicks, redneck type shit. This is legit modern cities, right? So that's another thing I just wanted to point out, because I feel like a lot of people are gonna be like, oh, wouldn't it just rip out? No, especially the fact that she's a strong swimmer, her muscles are used to stretching. They're used to being worked out. Like when I played soccer on an international level, when I played high competitive sports, I was trained to the point where, like when I got injured, it didn't faze me in any way. My muscles would not injure as easily as people who didn't play sports with, especially at high competitive levels. So you have to keep that stuff in mind. So no, it's very possible that her arm would not get damaged. Of course, all the blood did come out. You could see the blood, so that was realistic. And I feel like the whole intro was set up to let us know how strong of a swimmer she was, which played into all this stuff later on. So that's why I feel like she was keeping in calm mode. I think the way she was doing it, she was relaxed, calm. They kept doing flashbacks, showing her with her father. She was thinking of memories that relaxed her and calmed her and gave her strength to remain calm and relaxed, which I think that was the point of that. Again, this was done in a silent type of way without words. So unless you really understand all this, you're not going to get that scene. That's why I wanted to make that a point. So I feel like that was done very fucking well. Well done scene where some people aren't going to understand that and go, oh, that's very unrealistic. Well, it's not really unrealistic, okay? My issue, the funny scenes is every time they got out of this house, something happened that sucked them right back in. Dude, I literally on accident just said out loud, I was like, God, they can't get out of this fucking house, right? They get out of the house, the hurricane blows them back in. So it was comedic moments. The ending was comedic, with the fucking song, the Gators song, goodbye again. It was so funny. I thought I was laughing. I think I was the only one laughing at some of that stuff. I thought it was humorous. Like I said earlier, I wouldn't buy this movie, but it was fun and entertaining to watch. And however, the ending I would have changed. He got his arm ripped off. There was a lot of gore. It was good shit. Again, the guy was smart enough to tighten that shit down. Good for him. Not smart enough to get on top of the roof, but whatever. At least the dog survived, right? But the ending, we're on the roof, finally smart enough to get on the roof and use the flare, which is what they should have done to begin with. And the rescue copter comes down, and yes, they do. There are tons of them when flooding happens in Florida, especially during hurricanes. There's like 10, 15 fucking rescue copters that go around looking for people on roofs or just people in general to help them. They lower the basket to get in the basket and reel you up. That is realistic. It's not like, oh my God, didn't they go by? How many of those copters are there? There are tons. I say 10 to 15. I mean, there are 10 to 15 out. And when they're full, they drop them off. They come back out. That's the point of these rescue copters. Very realistic shit in Florida, man. I'm telling you, they did a very damn good job on accuracy in this frickin' movie. 100%. Of course, like I said, there are things for entertainment purposes, such as, we come into the play when these gators are already in the house and it leads into a, almost like a waterway to the lake. Those are real. I had those when I lived in Stillwater when I was younger, right? So it is real. They do connect to the sewerways. They don't connect to the inside of a house. That's not true at all. Now, again, this was a very big crawl space, and those are true in Florida, so the accuracy is there. So they had their nesting grounds because the pipe was broken to a gator-infested lake. They put the sign there, which those signs aren't realistic for Florida. We have those. We have gators in every lake. We just know that. Those signs aren't there. The only time those signs are there are in tourist destinations, such as lakes at Disney, lakes near Universal, lakes near iDrive. Wherever there's big tourist areas, those signs are there only to tell tourists there's lots of gators here. But realistically, there's gators in every fucking lake in Florida. Right? You live in Florida, you've seen a gator. If you haven't seen a gator, then you haven't been living here long, buddy. Even private neighborhoods, you were going to see a gator. It's just going to happen. So the sign is there for dramatic effect because this is not a tourist area. This is just some rundown area, I'm assuming near Gainesville, which I live 30 minutes from Gainesville. But this was actually filmed in Ontario, Canada, so it's not true realistic for that aspect. But what movies are, they always shoot them where they're going to get the cheapest areas. So the realism, I'm just going over the realistic aspects. It's very realistic minus the roaring and some of the shit for entertaining purposes. I know some of you be like, well, how strong is the sliding door when she locked the one gator in there? I can argue that either way. I mean, let's talk about the house. The house was falling apart. That's an old house, but yet the fucking tub is as strong as a tank. But realistically, the water on both sides would keep equal pressure on that as well. You have to keep that in mind. So as high as that was, you understand when with those sliding doors, when there's water filled up halfway on those doors, even on a sliding door on your house, and you push it, it's not going to have as much flexibility as it would if there was no flooding on either side because that water is keeping it stable. So we have to keep that in mind. But the power force of the gator, I do feel like the door would give way more quicker than that breaking because it's more of a plastic in a sense. It's a very sturdy material. So I'll give it some leeway because it is entertaining also to just strengthen it, right? Okay. Now for my idea for an ending, let's jump to this real quick. I still feel like the ending should have been her at the end in a swim competition or game or whatever you want to call it. She sees her armless, nubby father. I can't do this. Was it the right arm? I think it was the right. Yeah, it was the right arm because he was here. And, it would be another comedic moment, right? This isn't making fun of amputees. I know amputees. And if I told them this joke, they would probably laugh, I'm sure. Just a little clap at the end. But she should see him and get that, I'm an apex predator, bitch, right? That great momentum feel. She should win by looking at the father. This also lets us know that they did survive because you got to remember infection. He did block off and tighten the belt around. He did pop the shit in and tighten down on the leg. So we do know he didn't bleed out. He was smart enough to do that. I guarantee he didn't bleed out. But let's get real. We need closure, right? We need the closure on characters at least. So that should have given her the win, the motivation to win, and her getting in a fierce apex predator mode, and she wins, and the dad, because the dad was there, and that because they're so close, and he was the coach that trained her in the beginning to make her so great. And then we got the nubby clap. I think that would have been hilarious. That would have given us some closure at the end. I still feel like the way it ended, that there was another alternate ending, but we'll have to wait and see because I feel like there was that the last frame froze for like a solid second and then went, and that shit doesn't do that. Usually it fades instantly, or we have a frame that freezes for 2 to 3 solid seconds, not just a quick thing. So I almost feel like they cut something off. And I feel like they rushed it just so that they could put their little humorous "Goodbye, alligator" song in. And I feel like they were like sitting there, they're like, that's it, pause it right there on that frame. That is the sweet spot. Cue the music. And I feel like, had they done the closure scene, they couldn't have done it. It would have been "So long, crocodile, goodbye, alligator." The old 50-60 song wouldn't have fit if they used the ending I'm talking about, but it would have given us closure. I still think it could have kind of been not as humorous, but it still would have fit maybe. But, it is what it is. This is what my thoughts are. I felt like the realism was there. It's about an 8 out of 10. The gore, the special effects, probably an 8 out of 10. Story, 5 out of 10. But again, it was supposed to be entertaining. The originality was there. I think it was like I'd give it like an 8 out of 10 originality. The acting, the father was a great actor. She was if her character was supposed to be an ego-driven, kind of resting bitch face person that you don't or not supposed to connect with, then 10 out of 10, right? I'm assuming that's what the character is supposed to be. Again, it wasn't supposed to be like Godfather or something. It was just supposed to be entertaining. Entertainment factor, probably an 8 out of 10, like I said, very entertaining. CGI, there was moments where the CGI was just really shitty. Like I said, the clouds were shitty. The gator sometimes was great, but sometimes was shitty. I didn't understand that. It was a hit or miss. Intelligence, they were very intelligent. I feel like they went right for the eye. That shit I would have done. They weren't superheroes. They got their ass kicked, thrown around. They had to use their brain, So there was a lot of stuff there. Overall, like I said, 5.5, 6 out of 10. It was just one of those fun movies, and that's usually what I give fun horror movies, a 5.5 or 6 out of 10. It's usually within that range when it's just a fun time. So as a fun time, 10 out of 10. It was fun. Some people might be bored with this movie. I thought it was just good old fun, and that's what I want to see. There was no political agenda bullshit. There was no unwoken woke narrative. Just fun, So if you want to have some fun for an hour and a half, go see the movie. If you want some hardcore shit, then I would wait and go see something else. Maybe wait for this to come out on Hulu or Netflix. I think it was worth between the two of us, I think it was $7 each, and that's with the reclining reserve seats. The audio was phenomenal. I just want to give the audio a 10 out of fucking 10 outside of Dolby Atmos. Usually you only get this kind of great audio at home with like my Klipsch speaker, high-end speaker system, or in a Dolby Atmos theater. The sound they utilized, the fucking gator was coming around. You could hear it just like, you're at home on a phenomenal system, again, like mine are in Dolby Atmos, and you would know where the gator was because it would be pinpointed, at least in my theater, I should say. And the copter was coming down the side on the left. You could hear it on the left, but when he was circling back around, it came back around. This chair is working perfectly to utilize the sound, and it was just going around, and it was awesome. It was almost like a 360 sound. Sound phenomenal. 10 out of 10 on the fucking sound. Amazing sound. If anything, if you're a sound fucking audiophile, you'll love this movie just for the audio alone. So let us know what your thoughts are down in the comment section below. Did you see this movie? Are you going to see the movie? Have you seen the movie? Have you not seen the movie? Are you going to wait? Really curious about all this shit. And don't forget to give this video a big thumbs up because we're going to be on this video to another review on this channel. Reviews are new. I rarely do them, but this was Sam Raimi, and this was in Florida, so it was kind of a close, relatable thing, and you guys gave enough likes on the trailer review, so I went and saw it and reviewed it. And if you want to see more reviews, you got to give those likes. 150 likes is what gets you reviews. And don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification box if you don't. You want to find kick-ass shit such as this. And don't forget, I'm doing a giveaway. Link is down in the description below. I'm giving away copies of Blair Witch the Game. And don't forget, if you want behind the scenes, if you want early access to some videos, if you want some custom skits, if you want to watch old school movies with us and the rest of the Slasher Club, you got to sign up at theslasherclub.com, because if you don't get access to all this cool shit. And I think I'm going to start doing some videos on there, like actual videos, like I do on here, where I can actually swear and show the bloody shit that I want to show, that I can't show anymore on YouTube. So go ahead and sign up there. All that money goes right back into the Slasher Club. All of it. So I'm also getting ready to do a giveaway for the Jaws on the Water. So you better fucking tune in pretty soon. Because this week, I don't know what, it's going to be at random. Just random, I'm going to say, hey, go sign up here. If you live in Florida, you're going to get 2 free tickets to go watch Jaws in the Water. I will be there filming it and watching it. So, you know, maybe we could chill together, get some beer, bro, just hang out. Because you got to be at least 16 years of age or older to get in, but you have to be at least 21 to drink with me. So that kind of just falls wherever that falls, right? But I'm going to stay in the hotel there. I think I'm going to go to the beach the next day. So you never know. Maybe we'll all just hang out. And as always, damn, when I do reviews, I really just talk and talk and talk, right? It's like a blonde from Beverly Hills at this point. Jesus. I'll see you next time.
Like a white crocodile. See you later, alligator. Like a white crocodile. How can't you see you in my way now? Don't you know you have my style? When I thought of what you told me,